Elon Musk's private space ambitions extend far beyond rockets, Mars colonies, and satellite internet for the entire planet. Speculation has intensified around a potential shift in SpaceX's capabilities toward military-grade technologies with dual-use potential. Though not officially confirmed, several trusted analysts have noted concerning parallels between SpaceX tech and weaponization possibilities. The U.S. Department of Defense has already partnered with SpaceX on classified projects involving rapid satellite deployment and orbital logistics. Starlink's global satellite network could theoretically offer Musk an unmatched surveillance and communication advantage if strategically repurposed. A constellation that large, with near real-time global coverage, could serve as a backbone for space-based defense systems. Many experts fear such systems may circumvent traditional treaty oversight due to their ambiguous classification as commercial tech. The Outer Space Treaty of 1967, ratified by over 100 countries, forbids deploying weapons of mass destruction in space. However, it leaves major loopholes regarding non-nuclear weapons, advanced satellites, and dual-use commercial military technology. Musk's projects increasingly test those gray zones, raising alarms among policy analysts and international space law scholars. SpaceX's reusable rockets such as Falcon 9 and Starship could be rapidly adapted for military payload delivery. Their point-to-point travel concepts meant for cargo might also enable rapid troop or weapon system deployment globally. SpaceX even filed patents relating to kinetic payload delivery technology that resembles orbital weapon deployment in execution. Musk's influence with U.S. defense sectors has grown significantly, especially as traditional contractors fail to match SpaceX's innovation speed. Some watchdog groups are concerned about SpaceX blurring the line between civilian innovation and private military development. The 2023 Pentagon contract awarded to Starlink for battlefield communication during Ukraine's conflict raised global eyebrows. Starlink's role in Ukraine was seen as helpful, but also signaled the start of privately controlled space assets in warfare. Critics worry about Musk's unilateral control over such infrastructure, especially in sensitive global conflict scenarios. If a private individual can determine access to orbital communication during war, should there be stronger oversight mechanisms? Geopolitical rivals like China and Russia have voiced concerns about the militarization of low Earth orbit led by private firms. China has responded by accelerating its military space initiatives and increasing investments in anti-satellite systems. Musk's perceived proximity to U.S. intelligence operations has also led to questions about the transparency of SpaceX's projects. While SpaceX claims to focus on peaceful exploration, its government contracts often fall under secrecy and lack civilian oversight. Some analysts believe Musk is creating the infrastructure for a space-based early warning or defense strike system. Orbital kinetic weapons, also known as rods from God, are frequently mentioned in SpaceX's propulsion innovations. These theoretical weapons strike Earth targets from orbit using gravity, with no need for explosives. If SpaceX achieves affordable and accurate orbital cargo deployment, such concepts could move from theory to reality. Musk himself has publicly downplayed any weaponization motives, claiming his goal is to protect humanity through space colonization. Yet critics point out that defense funding and weaponizable systems could be paving stones to that broader mission. Several former SpaceX engineers have anonymously confirmed work on classified hardware and unmarked satellite modules. Though not illegal, the secrecy around these projects fuels public concern about unchecked space weapon development. Experts at Rand Corporation and the Center for Strategic and International Studies have repeatedly warned about dual-use systems. These organizations argue that transparency is essential when private tech firms begin handling military-grade orbital technologies. NASA and international space agencies must also adapt to the rising influence of private players like Musk in space affairs. Some nations are now calling for updated treaties to address commercial militarization, including orbital weapon deployment and defense satellites. Meanwhile, the US Space Force has shown strong interest in collaborating with SpaceX for rapid logistics and surveillance systems. This includes testing advanced sensors, ultra-fast launches, and interplanetary communication networks with military relevance. While innovation is commendable, the global community is wary of a future where orbital dominance is privately owned. Countries like India and members of the European Space Agency are already re-evaluating space partnerships based on Musk's defense involvement. Concerns around anti-competitive behavior and monopolization of orbital lanes are also being raised by international watchdog groups. If Starlink dominates low Earth orbit, other nations could struggle to maintain functional satellite systems due to interference. Musk's control of launch infrastructure and orbital bandwidth gives him an unprecedented level of gatekeeping authority. This centralization of space resources in one company's hands could lead to political, economic, and even military imbalance. Efforts to regulate orbital space traffic may falter if major stakeholders operate outside public or international governance models. Legal scholars suggest that new multilateral frameworks are needed to manage private space companies with national security contracts. Failing to act could allow companies like SpaceX to set de facto rules for space conduct, including weapon testing and asset denial. Some proposals include international registries for dual-use satellites and protocols for privately funded orbital defense trials. Musk's engagement with controversial geopolitical issues only heightens fears about private motivations overriding public good. As seen during the Ukraine war, his control over Starlink access raised ethical and strategic dilemmas for military operations. Future conflicts could see tech moguls become decisive players in battles through digital or orbital infrastructure control. The balance of power may shift from governments to corporations if regulatory frameworks remain outdated or unenforceable. Musk's space ambitions are intertwined with both visionary exploration and highly sensitive military-adjacent operations. This dual identity complicates diplomatic negotiations and raises alarms about accountability, transparency, and long-term consequences. Even within the US, lawmakers have started asking whether SpaceX's defense activities receive sufficient scrutiny. Classified projects and the absence of civilian auditing make it difficult to determine how far these plans truly go. A report by the Government Accountability Office in 2024 recommended greater oversight of private contractors in space defense. This included specific mention of SpaceX's capabilities and the risks of unregulated orbital launch systems used for rapid deployment. International space law experts now argue that private militarization could undermine global norms if left unchecked. Without collaborative international guidelines, the weaponization of space might occur through innovation rather than deliberate provocation. As technology advances faster than law, the temptation to test space-based weapons will become increasingly difficult to resist. Musk's leadership style is bold, independent, and often rebellious, makes him both a pioneer and a potential regulatory challenge. Investors have also raised concerns about legal liabilities and geopolitical blowback from controversial defense contracts. SpaceX's valuation remains high, but its dual-use capabilities could lead to international sanctions or regulatory clampdowns. The blurred lines between civilian space innovation and military application raise fundamental ethical and legal questions. Should a private company be allowed to own infrastructure that could tip the balance in a major international conflict? Should democratic governments cede such power without stronger guardrails and clearer public accountability? Space weapons might not look like laser beams or sci-fi battle stations, but they could arrive under the banner of progress. Even small satellites can carry kinetic payloads capable of disabling enemy infrastructure from orbit without traditional explosives. As launch costs plummet, it becomes economically feasible for private actors to experiment with systems once exclusive to nations. The Starship system, with its enormous payload potential, could theoretically deliver defense modules anywhere within hours. Musk has teased ideas of planetary defense against asteroids, which critics fear could mask weapons development under a noble banner. These ambitions could lead to systems that double as both meteor deflectors and anti-satellite tools. The fusion of AI, surveillance, and precision-guided orbital mechanics might soon redefine what constitutes a weapon in space. Governments must prepare for a new era where innovation runs faster than oversight and ambition challenges old-world treaties. As Musk expands into Mars colonization, his control of space infrastructure could influence how future settlements govern themselves. That raises questions about sovereignty, law, and ethics on entirely new worlds built by corporate interests. A single firm with autonomous launch, communication, surveillance, and defense capabilities wields more than technological power. It holds political leverage. Musk's ventures are changing what it means to control space, prompting urgent calls for rules to keep the skies peaceful. Policymakers now face a stark choice: regulate now, or risk being left behind by the speed of privatized space dominance.